Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's FPV podcast. It's 2019, and we got our favorite antenna master back on. He's going to be sharing with us a lot of things. As always, there's always a lot to talk with, for Alex. It's Alex. You know that. We'll be here for 4 hours. So sit back, relax, grab a meal. Okay. All right, Elvin, what do you got?
Hey, everybody. I hope everybody is enjoying the season and the flying sessions that's been going on. Try to stay out of the drama and peace and get out and fly, man. That's all I got to say, man. This is I've been doing it, so you go do it too.
All right. So without, we don't really need an introduction for Alex Cruz, but we love Alex. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's been around the industry like more times than most airplanes. Alex, how are you doing, man?
Doing all right. Thanks for introducing me as the engineer who won't shut up. It's true, by the way.
Most engineers aren't. Don't shut up.
I can admit it.
Hey, we love talking to you. You're a wealth of knowledge. So we got a lot to talk about this week because, Alex has always been very vocal. You always know what's on his mind. And that's actually a breath of fresh air, by the way, because in a lot of FPV parts, it's just weird. But a couple of things that we want to touch upon is, he's made some comments about his R&D, which we really want the full story because it's worth telling. There's a couple of antennas that we want to talk about, and then we'll wrap up with, a little bit of racing, and then we'll be done. Alex, how's it going?
Well, depends on what day you ask me.
By the way, he just flipped over his bike, and his whole body hurts, which is highly amusing because every time we talk to him, he's injured.
Yesterday I was rock climbing, so I'm sore from that. The day before that I was mountain biking, so I'm sore from that still. And today I flipped over the handlebars of my dirt bike, and the first time in my life I was screaming for help because the exhaust pipe was laying on my ankle and burning me, and I somehow was able to kick the bike off of me. So yeah, there are parts of my body that ache that I didn't even know existed right now. But you know what? You only live once, right?
He loves
they don't call me IB. I mean, I'm not IB crazy because I'm sane. I'm just
that's true.
Full throttle until I can't go anymore. So
and after my heart.
Oh man. Yeah, but you know what? The pain that shows up when nobody's watching tells the tale.
Oh, dear.
I'm 37 years old. Years old. And you know what? I remember when I was 16 looking at my dad going, I'll never be as old as you. I'm going, oh, man, I'm eating those words right now. The worst part about it is, okay, my girlfriend's a physical therapist. And she has friends that work with what's called speech therapy. So they try to understand more than just speech, what goes on in the human brain and such. And I've always said I've had the worst memory. I mean, my mother has actually caught me going off to school with my clothes on top of my pajamas because somehow I forgot to take them off. So my mother used to call me Forgetful Jones. And so my girlfriend finally got fed up with it and said, I'm actually going to test you. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm going to ace this test. Remember, I'm smart. I can do anything. I actually measured that I have a neurocognitive disorder.
Oh.
I'm actually borderline dementia.
She's going to strap you to a chair for the rest of your life.
This is not just like some random internet test. This is actually a true test they give the elderly patient to figure out if they need to go into the memory care unit. And I failed it.
What are you talking about? You remember everything. Like everything.
I have a photographic memory.
I know.
Lens cap stuck on.
All right, let's get on subject here. Now,
yeah, this is the guy you're dealing with, by the way.
Right.
We love you, Alex.
I can be real. Let's face it. I'll be real with you guys. Look, the one thing you're going to get from me is honesty. I don't think I have anything to hide. Everybody's got some things they're not so proud of and things not going well in their life. And,
at one time
if they hear that, this guy they think is this amazing antenna wizard, that everything seems to be perfect, it's like, no, he's actually falling apart.
Not falling apart.
It makes you feel like he's
kind of a slow crumble.
It just shows. Yeah, right. It is. It is. Yeah. But it kind of makes people feel like, well, maybe things aren't so bad. This guy's happy and he's got worse problems than me.
You know what, Alex? They say if you burn the candle on both ends,
I'm trying to light the middle, damn it.
Don't worry. He's got a girlfriend. Take care of him. Strap him to a chair for the rest of his life. He'll live till about 130. But
she's gonna feed him oatmeal for the next 100
oh yeah,
years.
it's
That's
gonna be
Cheerios.
bland
I'm
too.
good Cheerios.
Yep.
All right, Alex. You've been on record. I mean, I don't know, not on record, but you've
It's record.
posted.
Yeah, it's on record. It's
Okay,
record.
you've
record.
posted
My
that.
video.
Yep, it's true. That R&D is basically handing you your ass because it's expensive. Can you tell us the full story from the very beginning? Like, what's going on? Because, like, we know you. We understand that R&D is expensive.
Hell
But,
yeah,
like,
man,
we want to
that-
hear the full story.
That's
Okay,
my department right there.
So here's the deal. At VAS, I might own the company, but I treat myself as just the engineer.
Mhm.
I'm not really the boss. I actually hired Mark Ashton as my operations manager so I wouldn't have to deal with the day-to-day business things, so I could do
Engineers.
what I love and design and develop. Which means that I'm not really looking too closely at the finances. And I managed to knock out 4 patents in the course of about 5 months. And now, mind you, the first one I didn't write. And then I learned from what the attorneys wrote and wrote the other 3 myself.
Save yourself
And
some change.
I have now submitted a 5th. As of October, I think it was late September, early October, I submitted a 5th patent to the U.S. Patent Office. That one's actually on expedited, which I didn't even know existed until recently. So hopefully I'll have actually have a full patent in my hand by August of next year. Or
That's
this
like
year.
that's-
It's 2019, this
Yep.
year. So,
That's
but
the frequent flyers list. That's
this-
what happened.
this kind of thing costs a lot of money.
Yes.
Attorneys are expensive. More expensive than research and development. And in the last 18 months, I have spent over $150,000 in legal fees.
That is just
Just-
insane.
Just to give you an idea, the house I'm living in right now, I bought for $137,000. Okay, so I have spent more in 18 months on just attorneys to try to keep people from stealing my work. Okay, this is just to prevent theft of what I've developed than my home is worth.
Wow.
So, well, no, I shouldn't say more than my home is worth because I've done some improvements. It is solar powered. I need to put a new deck on the house and that kind of stuff. So it's probably worth more than the legal fees as of today. But talk to me in April, and chances are legal fees are worth more than the house. Yeah, the legal fees.
That's not very positive.
This isn't very positive, buddy. So, in essence, I nearly bankrupted my own company because I was spending. I got so in. I have this. I call this a disease called creation. I have to create. I have to come up with new. I just love it. Ever since I was a kid, I'd always just like tinker and make stuff, and all of a sudden, I have this open book, this open market that loves a developer, and I can do it. But I need to protect. Otherwise, people will take my innovation to China, copy it, and sell it, and kick me out of the industry. So I've got to protect myself. So I'm going to patent that. I'm not paying attention to the patents. I am paying attention to how much money I'm spending on failed R&D projects only. I made a video September, August timeframe about the cost of R&D, and I didn't mention patents, where I pulled $31,000 worth of failed projects out from under my bench and showed people this didn't work and here's why, and here's what I learned. Now, the thing is that's, well, maybe unless you go to the University of New York, that's more expensive than a year's college tuition. But on the other hand, I think I learned more than any college would ever teach me, because failure is a great teacher. But the problem is the test comes before the lesson, right?
Right.
And so it cost me a lot of money. And you're talking to a guy who drives a car that's worth maybe $3,000, maybe. I mean, okay, and to spend that kind of money on R&D shows you how much I really, really like it and how much I appreciate it, because I could spend that kind of money on marketing and just market the same crap and probably be much further ahead. But I love R&D. I love Okay, I don't like failing. I like succeeding after it's done. I love actually inventing something. It's a hell of a feeling. I mean, when the cloverleaf hit, I was torn between, oh my God, I've changed an entire industry, and screw you for ripping me off. I was, it was like the devil on the one shoulder and the angel on the other, like yelling at each other inside my brain, going, which do I listen to, right? The ability to create just overwhelms me. And so the fact that I spent more than 10 times my car's value, really, granted, it bothers me, but, I just kind of tell myself, I'll make it up in the end, because this innovation will allow people to be successful. And when they're successful, they're going to give it back, I hope.
Right.
And I believe people do try to give back to those that give to them. And so that's kind of what drove that through. What I didn't realize is I had dropped $150,000 on legal fees in the process. So, I made an announcement. It was kind of a side comment when I was showing a development for an antenna I was developing for a friend of mine to reach. He has crappy internet. Rural internet's a problem. All right. And he can't hit these towers. I'm like, oh, I know a guy can fix that, And so he hacked these radios. And of course, what do? I supply the antennas, and suddenly he has internet in his rural home. And so I decided, maybe I should just focus on people that would appreciate the technology instead of confining it to FPV. Maybe I can develop some stuff for some other industries that kind of need that growth, because most people in the US live in rural areas, and internet just absolutely stinks.
Oh yeah.
And so if I can supply this to them, well, maybe I can make the world a better place that way, and I can reach more people that way than FPV. So I started developing that, and I showed an antenna that where I was developing and where the computer absolutely failed me, and I showed where I was stacking parts on a foam block and actually empirically measuring it and showing why that's better than a computer simulation, because I'm actually getting the data I need in real world results rather than a computer guessing at what it thinks I want. Right. So, and what I had mentioned was that I'm no longer developing for FPV. And a lot of people took that as I'm getting out of FPV, and that's not true. I'm not getting out of it. I'm just not developing any new tech. The new tech just cost me too much money. I nearly bankrupted my company, and believe it or not, TBS bailed me out of what would have been bankruptcy. So TBS, I developed some stuff for Team Black Sheep, and for the longest time we had this tally that had gone on, and Traffy, by the way, is probably the most honest man I've ever met in my life. He sat me down about a year ago and said, you need to look at this because it looks like we owe you over $. And I went, what? There's no way. And so I looked at it and I went, dude, you haven't charged me a cent for your manufacturing cost. The manufacturing cost is nowhere in this spreadsheet. You got to put that in and charge half to me. If we're going to split this, you better charge me for that. And so he was like, you could see the relief on his face because he's looking at like, this has gone out of control and I need to cut you a check before you leave. And suddenly the balance came to a much more reasonable figure.
Right.
It's
just a more acceptable loss for the day, right?
It's not loss. It's not loss because he made a lot of money on right? But
it's profit.
The thing was he was prepared to pay me way more than he should have because of a simple accounting error that I had caught. And then he tried to pay me, and all of a sudden things fell through, not because of he or I, but because of, well, let's just say it's really difficult to do business in the U.S. He got hosed over by his bank because it looked like money laundering, and he couldn't pay me. And he's like, I'm trying to pay this guy what I owe him. And so we kind of formed a business between each other, and so that his business here in the States was a little bit better protected. And then after that got established, he made payments which on what he owed me, which floated the R&D budget and kept me from going bankrupt. He was really trying to he realized what was about to happen to me, and he was like, okay, let's step this into high gear so I can pay you. Now, granted, it had some problem. He had some problems in his business and he needed to fix. But I mean, he was as much as he was looking after himself, he was looking after me too. So we kind of did a little business workings, and it worked out better for both of us. But yeah, he and by the way, there's no contract between us. This is word of mouth. Okay, there is no written agreement between Raphael Pirker and Alex Greve.
See, this is the good
Not
karma
a single
part.
word written. It's all, I trust you, you trust me. We shake hands. That's worth more than the money in our bank accounts, which really isn't that much, I guess, if you're looking at mine. But at this point, but but it's huge because I got myself in that situation without looking. I became a lot more cautious, and instead, what I'm doing is focusing on refining my current tech. What I'm working on now is just making the tech that I've already developed better.
Right.
Which is good and bad. I actually got into a little debate with Hugo Chamberlain. Hugo Chamberlain owns True RC Canada. He also developed the Axie antenna. And if anybody knows a little bit about, if you look inside the Axie, you'll realize that Hugo Chamberlain had started with a TBS Triumph. And then he used a computer program to effectively compress it into a smaller form and created the Axie. Do I think he cloned me? Hell no. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take what you've learned from looking at the experience around you, and you make a change. You make your improvements on it. Okay? And his improvement was size, making it smaller. Now, personally, I still think the Triumph will outperform the Axie any day of the week, but there's no doubt the Axie's half the size, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when he comes and challenges me and says, hey, I feel you're violating my patent. I'm like, the heck? I don't think so. My Ion and your Axie are completely different. And he's like, no, look at this. And he sends me a page of his patent. I'm like, son of a gun. We overlapped. Oh, my God. And I'm going, well, this sucks. And granted, I wasn't copying him. I wasn't cloning him. It was just an overlap where our patents conflicted. And I went, well, I have two choices. Either I can go toe-to-toe with him and say, kiss my butt, which I would win, because the tech where we conflicted is legitimately mine. And it's kind of a footnote in his patent. Or I could go, you know what? I bet I can come up with something better. I've been doing this for 4 or 5 months now. I bet I can come up with better than it. And so I took the Minion, which is short for Mini Ion, by the way, and the Ion V2, which I was already producing, and I made some modifications to them and made them better, and stepped even further away from where Hugo was and expanded what I was doing. And by the way, these are already in those antennas as we're producing them now. I just never made the announcement that I improved them, mainly because I didn't really see a reason to. I'm an engineer, not a marketing guy. But and then I realized that the tech that I had developed needed to be added to my patent. So I added it as a continuation, and I submitted that to my patent reviewer out on Friday. So if you actually break open a new, if you buy an Ion V2 or a new Minion and you take a pair of pliers and rip the cap open, you'll realize that the animation that you see in my videos doesn't match what you see inside. And that's because I've made some improvements to it and made it better. It was just, I was really doing it. Half of it was to tell me I could do better than my previous self, a few months ago. And the other half was to tell Hugo, kiss my butt. It was kind of half and half, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't have to go toe-to-toe on a legal standpoint. I can go toe-to-toe on an engineering standpoint, which I feel is more honorable, right? And so I did that. And I won't tell you his response, but he was really happy with the way I took an engineering jab at him, and he really wasn't happy with me. He kind of called me a jerk and went, "Dude, really? Did you have to do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did." He was kind of, but the problem is we used to be friends, right? And now we're almost enemies because the business, I won't say the business has gotten in the way, but the business has become part of our personalities. And the problem is we have our our ties in business. He's now tied to Lumineer, and I am tied to Team Black Sheep. Mm-hmm. And had we not made those ties, we probably would get along great, and we probably would be doing very, very well, because it was my tie with Team Black Sheep that caused him to kind of steer away from working with me and start going towards Lumineer. Mm-hmm. And then because those are your two biggest FPV manufacturers, retailers, going toe to toe, that automatically put he and I against each other, even though personally we really don't have anything against each other. But he's a great developer, and I really wish I could work with him. But unfortunately, some things have happened that it'll never happen again. It just won't. And that's something that people need to see. That's the dark side of R&D. There's the very expensive part between the cost of prototypes, the amount of time I've spent, and the cost of the attorneys. But there's also the cost of personal relationships, because Hugo's a very good friend of mine, and now we're almost enemies. And that's hurtful. Not because I feel he hurt me, but I feel the situation that we've been put in has hurt us. Mm-hmm. You know, because previously granted, he's a native French speaker. His English is about as good as my Spanish. Mm-hmm. But our friendship had transcended that barrier. That has been torn away now. And I'll never get that back. It does. Yeah. And that's why I'm very careful when I mention his name, because I don't want to badmouth him. He's not a bad guy. It's just when this is one of the biggest problems I see in the world, is when good people, very good, very honest people, are put in a new element where they're out of their element. They're not used to it. Mm-hmm. They're not ready for the change that happens within them, and they don't even see it. And I'm guilty of this. I'll admit it. Okay. All of a sudden, you do things that you don't realize. You don't realize that you a year ago wouldn't have done, and might have thought was immoral or wrong. That's the dark side of it. That's a dark side of business. You make a lot of good friends. I've made some very, very good friends in business, but it's very hard to make friends with your competitors. Oh yeah. A case in point, I've made very good friends with some of my competitors in the wing manufacturing industry. Sean Shepard of Defiant Wings. He and I get along great. We like to slap each other on the back and outdo each other. It's just what we do.
Yep. And you helped him out. You actually cut his first wings. I mean, we heard that story. I still cut his wings.
I've got a pulse. I've got a finger on his pulse, you know. But the truth is, I wish him well. I don't see him doing well as a detriment to me. And the reason for this is because wings are supplemental. They're kind of a hobby. They're not really the core of my industry, and they're not the core of where he gets his money. He does his own thing as well.
Right. He's got another business.
Right. So it's just kind of supplemental, and as long as it's fun, we get along. But if he or I takes that too seriously, that friendship will be broken, and that's a problem. And I think he knows that, and I obviously know that, and we're very careful to keep it friendly, because, you know, we're not really basing our lives around this. I mean, Ruben from Sweeplings, he and I get along great. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's another wing manufacturer is LEG, Leading Edge Gliders, LEG Electric. Another wing manufacturer. Now, granted, this is his bread and butter, but FPV really isn't. So he and I, we trade secrets all the time. We don't care. And it develops the industry because we are not financially set in this sector of FPV wings. Yeah, I'm in FPV and he's in foam airplanes, but FPV wings we're just kind of dabbling in. Yeah. But then you talk about, then you look at a company like Right Wing, Chris Click, that this is his bread and butter. This is where he makes his money. You can see the tension between he and I very publicly. And this is not just between he and I. This is other wing manufacturers as well. Why? Because he has more vested interest in it. He has more to protect. It's not fun and games to him. It's his job. Whereas the rest of us, it's fun and games. And if we make money on it, great. He has to. Yep. So he's going to be more protective of it. And it makes it very hard to make a good friendship when your friend is threatening your very income, right?
Right. That's the truth.
it happens. And honestly, I wish him well. I really wish Chris Click well. I don't wish anything bad on him. I just really wish he'd tone it down a few notches.
He's not going to do that.
Yeah,
I know it's his personality. It's like asking him to be. It's asking like for him to ask me to tone it down a few notches. It's not going to happen. You know.
Hey, can you not make no more antennas this year?
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's not going to happen. And so this is the other side of it. You know, understanding people are human, right? This is an industry. This is a business, and so just understand people are people. And understand things will happen between people, especially in business and finances get involved. And you're going to lose friends.
True.
It sucks. It really does. But you've got to focus on the good that comes out of it. You're going to make new friendships. You're going to make new relationships. Friends come and go. They really do. I mean, you think of the people from high school that you were great friends with and how many you keep in touch with? 2?
True.
At best. Okay, this happens. It's more obvious when it happens within an industry where you're still effectively in the same, well, in school you were in the same building, now you're in the same industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So it makes things a little bit more complicated there, but it happens. It stinks. And I, for the longest time, felt that it could be avoided. And call me jaded, but I now feel that that's not true. I don't think that in business, I don't think that it's possible to not lose friendships. I mean, there might be some exceptions, but it's one of the crappiest things because when you make your hobby your job, which I did, it changes the world for you and not necessarily for the better. You'll see a lot of vendors and manufacturers publicly upset over certain things and other vendors and manufacturers that have upset them going, what did I do wrong?
Right.
The thing to remember is that if it weren't for the fact there was a business in between these people, they would be buying each other drinks at a bar, having a good time, smiling, laughing, and being good friends. So don't fault people for being people.
It's especially important to know that, Alex is his own company and he is the owner, and he also has a vested interest to protect his employees, because if he goes under, it's just not affecting him. He's also affecting his employees, which obviously is getting paid well and wants to continue to work in his nice little company.
Right. And I treat them like family.
Exactly. So
my employees are my family.
That's the hard thing about owning a business, that's not a corporate entity, because corporate entities usually kind of take care of themselves, right. They consume. That's the whole process, right? It's about consumption and control of a market. With a corporate entity, well, you're just trying to do your thing and move forward as your mind lets you wander through the airways.
Well, I mean, just to give you an idea, my operations manager.
Is that a pun?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I caught it. My operations manager, he had his truck down here in August, September. He bought a new truck, and the exhaust manifold, they were telling him it was going to cost him like $1,800 to replace it. He found this video on the internet where you can weld nuts to the studs and break it out. And he's like, Alex, you got a welder, right? So what was I doing for 2 days? Welding, getting underneath his truck, welding nuts to the studs and breaking his exhaust bolts out. I'm a gearhead. I'm an absolute gearhead. I loved it, by the way. Just to help him out. And when I go out of town, he watches my dog. All right. This is my operations manager. And then I've got a guy, Sean McEwen. His girlfriend goes to Liberty University, so they decided to move up here to Lynchburg without a job. Great idea, right? Who lives in the next town over? I do. And we're good friends. So, Sean, why don't you come work for me? Guess who designed the Crosshair Extreme cover?
Nice.
Sean. Okay? So, I don't want, how bad it would make me feel to say, Sean, I don't have a job for you anymore.
Yeah.
Just think about what that takes. You got to understand, I helped him move into his apartment when he moved up here. He called me and said, hey, Alex, yeah, my car's overheated. Can you come get me? And I'm like, sure. And we went, and the next day we changed out the radiator in my driveway because the mechanic wanted too much daggone money. I'm like, screw it. We'll figure this out. I've never changed a radiator, but I can do it. We'll do it. It's not that hard. They wanted $1,000 to do it. I said, let's buy a radiator for $180. I bet we can do it. And we did it.
You've done head work. Shit, that's not that hard.
I can do this. So yeah, that's what my employees are to me. Raphael from TBS said it like this, and I hope he doesn't get mad at me for effectively saying his own words, but he said, Alex, I'm dangerous. He said, I don't have to do this. I have a home in Austria. I have a home to go to. I have a meal on the table anytime I want it. I don't have to do this, which means I can take a higher risk than those who at their very lives depend on this. I'm the same way. My house is paid off. It's solar powered. I basically have a water bill, and granted, I have a $10.89 connection fee to the electrical grid, but okay, let's face it. I can live very comfortably working part-time at a fast food joint. All right. Mm-hmm. My girlfriend is a doctor. I'm not really in a financially bad situation, so it allows me to take those ridiculous R&D risks. When you consider the risk to your family, in this case, my employees, all of a sudden get a little more protective.
Yep.
And the fact that I nearly bankrupted my own business, to me, it was like, well, that's what happens, right? And I think about my employees, I go, oh, this isn't right. And so really most of my protectiveness is protecting them, because the truth is, if you kick me out of the FPV industry, I'll find another place to go. I always will. Yep. But I don't necessarily have a place for them. And that's what bothers me. I mean, I've got commercial contracts with military and commercial guys that I just can't talk about here that would hire me in a heartbeat, and probably pay me better than what I'm making now. But it's just not my thing, right? So I mean, heck, I used to make mobile substations for a living before I started doing this. So I have a place to go, but I feel my job is more providing for my employees and their families than providing for myself. Definitely. So if you see me getting protective, that's why. I could make all this crap in China very, very easily. All right. I've got connections there. Raphael has told me, I don't know how many times, you can make twice as much if you have me manufacture your stuff for you. And I told him to go pound sand. He's like, yeah, I know. I just barking at the wrong tree. He just said, I just keep trying. I'm going to wear you out eventually. I'm like, yeah, you keep trying, buddy. You keep trying. The prospect of money doesn't matter.
Hey, it changes a lot of people,
It does. And it changed me. But I won't let it change me who I am at the core. It just changes how I look at things. But, and speaking of that, I've sunk crap tons of money in stuff that I haven't even figured out what to do with yet.
That's Elvin right there in a nutshell, except it's all his hobby stuff.
You should see my garage.
But for me, all things is hobbies. That's how it is. I build antennas. I build cars. I strip down a couple of bikes.
Yeah, right.
Go down to Goodwill, and you can buy 4 or 5 bikes for $10.
Right.
Come home and make a nice bike.
Oh no! You go home and make 3 nice bikes out of the 5 you bought.
There you
That's
go.
What I used to do.
I make one nice bike.
Turn a Schwinn Varsity. Turn a 40-year-old Schwinn Varsity into a cyclocross bike. Oh boy! Wow. I used to work at a bike shop for years, buddy.
There you go. All right, Alex.
Cycle in Pittsburgh.
So let's go ahead and flip the page. Obviously, you already told us your Ions made some improvements. Are you just going to call it the V2, or are you just going to call it the Ion? Are you going to tell anybody?
No, the Ion V2 is different antenna design, but the Minion and Ion V2 now have different technologies, but the names aren't going to change. I'm saying that they're improvements they're not what you got when they first came out, but the names haven't changed.
Names haven't changed.
And this is the thing. Sometimes if you open my antennas up, like the directional ones, I'll have a revision on them, and sometimes it'll be like revision 8. Whatever happened to revision 1 through 7? Well, I just didn't mention that I was improving it. All right. So I have this thing where I continually improve, but I'm not a marketing guy, so I just kind of do it silently and just keep on going. Because by the time I've improved it, yes, it works. Awesome. We're implementing this improvement, and I'm on to the next. I don't even think about announcing it. Yep. It's just not my thing, right?
Yeah, so nobody has antennas Like I don't know none of my friends that's been flying on the same antennas for all the whole year.
Right. I mean, it's just, look, if I can't create something absolutely new because it's too flippant and expensive, maybe I can just improve on what I have and create better.
Right.
And so that's kind of what drives me. However, this disease also has a dark side, and that's when things don't work out as you plan. And such is the case with my laser combat system. Some of you were at Flight Fest South 2016, or was that 2017? It would be 2017. Sorry, I forget what year it is, guys. But Flight Fest South, there was a bunch of recordings where people showed up with their video monitors, were picking up people doing air-to-air combat, but they don't remember that being announced. That's because we never announced it. We just went and did it. And we had 3 airplanes that we handed out to people and let them have a good time flying laser combat, shooting each other out of the sky. And it was pretty obvious what we were doing. And you'd think that I'd have a working system from those prototypes by now, but it didn't work out that way because I had effectively said this is a DIY project. It's really cool. And originally I teamed up with Range Video, and then Range Video kind of flaked out on me and said, well, we like your tech, but we're going to go this way with it. So see ya. What they didn't realize is I didn't really give them all the information that made it work. Don't run until you have the full story. So, and I was very careful about that. I was very careful that they didn't have, I wasn't giving them enough to make a working product until they had a contract with me to make sure they couldn't run with it. And they had felt that there was a better way to go with it, and they ran that way. And I said, okay, well, I'm running this way. Bye. And we parted ways. Guess who demoed their system? Guess who? And I spent $30,000 so far developing that and patenting it. And there is no combat system. And the reason is because I picked up another partner by the name of Hardik Patel from Particle Innovations. Great guy, very intelligent, and a hell of a lot of fun to hang out with. But Hardik took my DIY project and put it into a real commercial form. Unfortunately, DIY and commercial form are very, very much worlds apart. And the first one just didn't work. The second one worked kind of, but for some reason the sun didn't like to play well with it, and my plane was getting shot down by the sun itself. And so we made a couple of hardware filters, and then Hardik got this really, really busy full-time job where he's working 60 hours a week and getting completely burned out. So yeah, my combat system is effectively on hold because my hardware developer is, he's tied up with life, to say the least. I'm kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. I really want this thing to come out. I really did expect it to come out April of 2008. Here it is, January 2019, and we still don't have it. And I'm caught between kind of running him over or waiting. Running him over means going to some other developer, taking what he has and saying, look, Hardik, I know you don't have the time. I'm going to take what you have, run to somebody else. I'll pay them. I'm not taking out of your cut. I'll take it out of mine. It's fine, but we really need to finish this. Or just saying, okay, I'll wait for you, buddy. Mm-hmm. And so what I've resolved to do is if I don't have a resolution by next weekend, I'm driving down to his house and showing up and saying, look, we're going to finish this. And if you can't, then I'll find somebody else. Okay. He's a 3-hour drive away. I think that's reasonable. So that's what I've resolved to do. Is if next weekend I will be at his house. If he doesn't let me in or we don't get anything resolved, then I'll go to a third party and pay for that. Because I really believe in this. It's a hell of a lot of fun. I want to see it happen. There's a heck of a story behind it. Not just Range Video. In fact, Flight Test was developing it and they got scared because of being sued by laser tag companies because EMR Labs got that treatment. Hence why I wrote the freaking patent on it. Yeah. So, and then I went to Flight Test and said, hey guys, if your system, kind of checks off enough bullet points under my patent, I will tell the world I licensed it to you. and we'll just kind of sweep it under the rug. So you're protected under my patent. And yeah, I don't want to send because I like what Flight Test is doing. But I don't know whether they got spooked or what happened, but they kind of fell off the map. And I really want to finish this development, bring it out, and then kind of reach out to Flight Test and say, hey, what happened to your system? And let's bring your system out, and let's promote this as a sport together. Because my system's supposed to retail for $35, by the way. I mean, it's not going to be expensive. And I don't know what their target was. I don't really care. I know they had some safety concerns, good safety concerns that I had already addressed because I was a little bit ahead on development. But really, I wish those guys the best. And really, if they sell, 6 times as many systems as I do, I don't really care, right? I just think this is a heck of a lot of fun. That's one of the other things that happens is you get a DIY project going commercial is kind of tough. And, like I said, Hardick's a good guy and I really don't want to stick it to him. But on the other hand, I do want to deliver this to the RC community.
Well, it's been what, 2-3 years in the making, at least.
29 months now.
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
In all reality, I was really hot and heavy in that for about 15, and the last couple has been. Mm-hmm. I've been tied up with other things. Of course, Hardick got tied up. The last year has been really, really slow, and I really want to kick that in high gear and finish this. So it happens. These things happen. FPV is a very, very hard way to make a living. Especially when you're trying to make this stuff in the States. China, it's so hard to compete. You basically need a real job, and this is your side job, which means it slips.
Yep.
So it's hard to do. And my problem is, how do I serve the FPV community without screwing over those that I've agreed to work with? And so that's what my resolution is effectively paying somebody to finish where Hardick has not been able to do, and giving him his cut anyway, because the truth is he doesn't, it's not because he's deliberately slacking. It's because life got in the way. And I can't fault him. He's a great guy. I mean, honestly, talk to him. He's a hell of a lot of fun. So can't fault him in any way. I'm not even mad at him. I understand.
Hey, I think we all feel the pinch when it comes to FPV. You've seen a lot of people drop off over the years because it seemed like it was going to be a big thing, but it's kind of it's kind of simmered down, unfortunately, and we got to watch out for ourselves. Like I said,
well, the FAA really hurt us. The FAA with the registration, that was I had my pulse on the industry at that point, and then when they introduced it, I saw a bunch of people drop off the map immediately. Their sales went to almost zero. Nothing has hurt the industry more than the federal government. Before the federal government effectively stepped in, I used to consider myself a libertarian. No, I'm absolutely anarchist. I'm not kidding. It changed my political views. Yes, I am absolutely an anarchist. I'm Irish. Come on, for God's sakes, my ancestry is 1,100 years of freaking anarchy. So whatever. But the truth is, nothing has hurt the industry more than the FAA. Well, the FCC has even stepped out. It's gone like, yeah, we'll kind of let it go. People, you're supposed to have your hand license, but you're transmitting 200 milliwatts. It's not worth our time. Mm-hmm. And this is the same group. This is the same government agency that when, what was her name? Super Bowl, boob slip, whatever the hell her name, Janet Jackson.
Yeah, right.
Went like nuts, Yet they're letting our industry kind of slip, like, you're not really licensed, whatever. And they're really letting it go. So, okay, FCC, kudos. Thanks for letting us kind of get away with it. FAA, kiss my butt. From every standpoint you've ever had, it's legal, and it still is. In fact, when you tried to make registration mandatory, you were trying to make us sign a contract extorting us. Yeah, you can kiss my butt. And if you don't do that, I'm going to shove my size 10 up your butt. You're going to look mighty funny walking around with that boot hanging out of your backside. But a lot of FPVers got scared. Have you ever been to an FPV event lately, last year? Look at the people.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously. The people have changed. Remember how FPV used to all be geeks and nerds and tech people? 3 years ago, Were people passing a joint around?
Nope.
But they openly do it nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
why? Because people who would openly smoke marijuana don't give a shit about what the FAA, FCC, or any government agency thinks about.
Right.
Those were the people who weren't flushed out. The people who were like, oh, I should be a law-abiding citizen, and that were flushed out almost immediately. And the rest of the people who were like, I'm my own person. You can kiss my butt, are the ones who are left. I mean, think about that. That's what happened. The people who really were like, if the federal government shows up, they're going to find my shoe in their backside. Those are the people who were left.
Elvin, that's your people right there. Look at him.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not lying. No, you're not
Okay.
lying.
I mean, now, honestly, this is the mentality of the people that are left in the industry. The FAA has chased out the people who want to be law-abiding citizens. And the people who went, if I smoke pot, it's my own choice. It's my body. What I'm putting in is not your business. Those people would obviously not care what the FAA thinks. And so they keep flying. But there are people who are like, well, I really should obey the law. And they kind of left. So the FAA has been the biggest killer of the industry because of that. And it's no secret. I was trying to file a class action lawsuit against them because of what they did to the industry. And then I kind of went, I'm not a politician, screw it. I probably should have followed up with it, but I wasn't really trying to get money out of them. I was more trying to make sure that didn't happen again. And, well, yeah, life got in the way, right?
Right.
The engineer got in the way.
Yeah, there you go. Alex is either going to be strapped to a chair by his girlfriend or he's going to be in prison. That's what I've learned in about 20 years from now.
Have been institutionalized, bro.
All right, Alex, talk to me about the your diamond antenna.
Zap.
Okay, so I had mentioned earlier I'm not doing R&D for new tech, but I am expanding on tech that I've known for a while. One of the problems that I had was that the diamond, the TBS diamond, was compared to the True Mox. The True Mox is a Moxon rectangle. It's a 2-element compressed Yagi, which I have been manufacturing the 433 version since 2012. So it's been out there for a while. And people were comparing the diamond, which is an omnidirectional antenna, to a True Mox, which is directional. And that's not a fair comparison. That's like comparing a crosshair to an ion. They're not the same antenna. Now, if you fly behind it, all of a sudden things start to change. But you're not comparing apples to apples anymore. So it bothered me because people were comparing an Omni, which I meant for general purpose flying all around you and never have to worry about your signal, to something deliberately designed for long range. And it's like, well, the diamond is capable of long range, but that's not really what it specializes in. Mm-hmm. And you're putting it in a category against something that specializes in that. You wouldn't put a Ford Bronco in the same competition as a Ford Fiesta now, would you? They're different vehicles. Right. You put a Fiesta off-road, it falls apart. Okay, but you want to do a fuel economy comparison, and the Bronco loses. All right, this is not a comparison anymore. So I realized that a Moxon and a Yagi is nothing more than an Omni with a parasitic element. So what did I do? I taped one on with electrical tape in the proper location, put it on my vector network. Now, granted, okay, I didn't do it originally. Originally, I put it on a big wooden stick, put it behind the antenna, looked at my vector network analyzer, kept reading the numbers, and then, there's where it has to be, and started clipping it down until it was the right length. I really did this empirically. There was no computer in it. It was just me and a wooden stick, ye old stick. So, and then so I empirically came up with the best length and value as far as best distance away and length based on what my vector network analyzer was showing as a signal strength, and said, hey guys, here you go. And this came from, I was going to design a directional antenna for Team Black Sheep. And Team Black Sheep said, it's not that much of an improvement over the Diamond. I'm like, yeah, but you don't really have a long range antenna. You have a like, you don't have a long range specific antenna other than that goofy Yagi that we went and tried to surf the buildings in Hong Kong Canal with. This Yagi, you see the post. I mean, he's like, oh, screw ah! He's like freaking out as he's aiming the Yagi the wrong way. And I'm like, Raphael, and I just turned his body, and all of a sudden the signal comes back and goes, oh. I was in Hong Kong about 6 weeks ago. It was funny. We really shouldn't have made that flight, but we really should have. We were playing around, but he doesn't really have. I wanted to introduce like a not like a stupid long range antenna, which is what we were testing in Hong Kong. He didn't have like a moderate long range, and so I wanted to introduce it. And he said, Alex, it's not better. It doesn't make enough an improvement over the Diamond to replace it. And so my resolution was fine. The world should have it anyway. And so I open sourced electrical taping, how long was that wire? 6 inch. I think it was a 6 or 6 1/8. 6 inches, 1 5/8 to 1 3/4 inches behind the Diamond antenna. You just electrical tape it in place or zip tie it or however you want to hook it up. And all of a sudden you effectively multiply your range by 75. You add 75% to your range. Boom, done. Cheap, easy. It takes about a minute to do. And then, of course, I ruined a bunch of people's Saturday nights, or made it better. I don't know. Because 3 people, the day I posted it about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And by midnight, there were 3 3D printed models on Thingiverse that you could download and make the mod.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's awesome, man. But that's what the FPV community used to be, right?
Yep.
It used to be one guy comes up with a tech and another guy improves it, boom, 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 all down the line. The truth is I could have made a new product, but why? Why bother? This is cool. This puts a DIYer. This makes more do-it-yourselfers. I'm a do-it-yourselfer, right? I like that. So, but the side note is I learned something when doing these experiments and watching what people were 3D printing. And so look out for what I've got. Hopefully Tuesday or Wednesday, I have some prototypes coming for an adjustable gain antenna.
Oh.
So the Diamond already improved the range of my Spectrum radio by 4 times. I can go 4 times further on the Diamond antenna than my stock antenna, despite having the same gain, just because my antenna is more efficient at sending the signal to my aircraft. Okay. By the way, I did give the designs to Spectrum, and their engineers got, okay, you know what? Screw it. I don't work at Spectrum anymore. Your engineers got butthurt, and that's why you're not using the antenna technology I gave you for free. But if you look at their team pilots, guess what they have on their radios?
Oh, dear. Hey, performance matters.
Their team pilot can't crash due to signal loss, right?
Right.
No. So what they did is they opened up a market for me to actually modify their radios. Thank you, Spectrum, for not taking my advice. So I made the Diamond. And I started selling it as an upgrade for Spectrum. Technically, it's illegal, but the FCC kind of went, it's going to be like, well, it's a Part 15 device. You can't change the antenna, but you have the same gain as the original antenna. So the same EIRP. So it's really nothing they can complain about. Because I violated the letter of the law, but kept the spirit and the meaning of the law when I developed it. But then I came with this idea of this adjustable gain antenna, and hopefully it'll come out soon. So the idea is, if you want to take a long range mission, well, you just make a little change to your antenna don't change it out. You just make a little modification, and because it's not out yet, and because I haven't finished all the whether I want a patent or not, I'm going to tell you what it is.
Come on, stop it with your patents.
Hey, this is one that I would try to do myself with no attorneys. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it.
Gotta wait.
So the deal is you would be able to make a very quick modification to your antenna that would change it from omnidirectional, flying all around you, to being capable of long range. And the other side of it is, if you should, say, go fly long range and find yourself without signal, well, you could just quickly pop your goggles off, reach down to your antenna, make the modification very quick, pull your goggles back down, your signal will be restored, and then you could turn around and come home instead of crashing your aircraft miles away. So I decided to develop this technology, and I am actually doing it, but it's really not anything new. It's just kind of an application of a really, really old technology that nobody really thought of.
That still makes it new.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I mean, come on. New taping a 6-inch piece of wire behind an antenna is new. Yeah, that's
when
new,
you 3D print it. Yes, it is.
Tech. It's not really. I mean, it's tech, but come on, it's kind of cheesy. So I just haven't figured out what I'm going to do with it. You know, obviously, I patented my switchblade, which was the cap that slid over the dipole. Your stock would turn it into a really, really high performance circular antenna. Why? Because it can be ripped off really, really poorly, but easily. It's really hard to get the science right, but to get the concept is pretty easy. And so, but that really didn't take hold like I thought it was. I thought people would flock to that, and it just kind of failed. So that's really what it is, because this technology is very similar, kind of like slipping something over an antenna to give it more directionality, where the switchblade was slipping something over an antenna to rotate a signal. So the question is it worth it? And that's really what I'm asking myself. What do I do with this tech? Do I just bring it out? Do I cut, protect it? You know, what do I do with it? And I'm undecided. But if I do try to protect it, I'm doing it all on my own. I'm not even going to get a law firm involved. And if it fails, as far as the legal system goes, well, screw it. I'm out my time. Big deal. The other side tells me that, you know what? The FPV industry has ripped off so much. They aren't really looking at the latest tech. They're only ripping off the easy tech, the low-hanging fruit. Yep. When something new comes out, they've stopped looking at it. Nobody has tried to clone my Ion or my Minion yet. Nobody. That's
not enough
weird.
Sales.
It's the highest performing antenna on the market. Nobody's tried to steal it. They're still making my freaking Cloverleaf, and I don't even make that anymore. For God's sake, the Ion is cheaper to produce and it's higher performance. Yet they're still making the inferior product. Why? I don't know. Honestly, at this point, the Cloverleaf, I don't care who makes it. I don't care. Whoever makes it, I don't consider them ripping me off anymore. Why? Because I've moved on to better things, and they want it. I have this thing about tech. I think anybody who develops intellectual property has a responsibility to turn it over to the world after they've made their money back, and then some profit on top of it. Obviously, it needs to be worth it. But I have made enough money on the Cloverleaf. I've gone as far as I want. The world can have it. Honestly, if you sell a Cloverleaf, I don't consider that copy anymore. Why? Because I've got much better tech that I've refined. I've abandoned that. Mm-hmm. And if you feel that's good tech, it shouldn't die.
Right.
Then produce it. It's fine. It's perfectly okay with me. Just don't produce what I am. And we're cool. And since I don't make it anymore, it's fine. And that's another belief that, I've realized corporate America, or corporate world, I guess I should say, hasn't adopted. They want to follow their tech until it's absolutely
dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the truth is, look, you gave this tech to the world through your own avenue, and you made whatever of yourself out of it. Mm-hmm. You have a responsibility to keep going and make something better instead of sitting back and going, I'll just collect a paycheck. So if you don't do that, you're a parasite. Okay? You have a choice. You have a certain amount of time. And by the way, I feel this amount of time is between 5 and 7 years, somewhere in there, at which you have to make your money back on your product once it makes an impact. Let's say you make a product 5, 6 years ago, and it really never makes an impact. Well, once it really has an impact on people's lives and it really starts going, you have between 5 and 7 years to collect your money on that and either make something better or get the hell out of the way. And I really, truly believe this, by the way. A lot of my current patents, I intend, after I feel I've made my money and my contribution, I intend to open it to the world. And that might sound odd, but my goal isn't to be rich. My goal is to make the world a better place. How many people, when they die, can say, I made the world a better place?
It's hard.
Those are the people that get written about in history books.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Think about the people that made the world a better place. Okay? Those are the people that you read about constantly in history books and newspapers, years and years, decades, centuries after the death. I want to be the guy that people read about. I am going to effectively make my financial gains, protect my company, my people as best I can, and then open it and say, hey world, this is yours. I've moved on. And the moving on I'm doing is actually in the commercial realm. The commercial and military end of my business has been growing at an exponential rate. And so the FPV world will see certain portions of my technology being open with full tutorials. Email me, hey, I can't get this to work. Sure, here's how you manufacture it. That kind of stuff. You'll see certain portions of that absolutely open to the world because I've gone elsewhere, and it's kind of being a horrible human being to let an industry that you effectively had nurtured for a while and then just say, yeah, burn. You don't do that, right? I mean, granted, I intend to sell FPV products for a long time, well into the future. Sure. I just don't intend for this to be my core. I do feel a certain responsibility to give back. And that means that if I leave, my responsibility to give back doesn't leave with me. It stays there. That's what the modification of the diamond antennas was. I could release this as a product. Why don't I make something better and release this tech to the community to give back to those? Because, yeah, I'm going to have my adjustable gain, but they already had it if they were a do-it-yourselfer. They already had it if they fired up a 3D printer. So that's kind of my thought on it. I'll make my money back on my investment when I bring this tech out. But I don't have to sell to the DIYer. I don't have to sell to the person that wants to do it themselves, that wants to invest themselves in the tech. There will be enough people who say, I don't want to learn that. I just want to buy it and fly. You know?
That's a lot of people right now.
It is.
Hell yeah.
The one thing that I hope anybody listening to this understands, we've got a certain amount of time in our lives that we're here on this earth. And the truth is, it's our attitude that tells us how happy we'll be. Happiness is the key, right? Happiness is the key to life. And it's our attitude that tells us how happy we're going to be. And my attitude is that, you know what? There's a lot of things wrong with this world.
True.
But if I focus on them, I'm going to be miserable.
True.
If I exploit, I'm going to have a hell of a lot of fun. So, just take the good or the bad. But in the end, the FAA doesn't want us flying FPV. They don't want us doing this. They want to control it. Right. And the reason is pretty bad. The reason is because corporate interests realize that we can do a lot better with unmanned aircraft than manned aircraft can do.
True that.
And AOPA and ALPA have a heck of a lot of money in lobbying. And that's where a lot of this comes from. And they very successfully harmed our industry. And we can focus on how bad and how much that sucks and how, my God, these corporate entities are using the federal government against us, or we can tease them, right? We could tease them and make them suffer because they're going to have to spend more and more money as we defiantly wave our middle fingers in the air and say, "Come get us." That's what, and if I hope I've spurred on some other ideas. Maybe maybe somebody will come up with another viral video based on this podcast. I don't know. Mark Rober sure as heck had a good idea with the package thief.
Oh yeah.
Freaking love.
That was awesome.
It was awesome. The police said, "Oh, it's not worth our time to prosecute." He's like, "Oh, buddy, then you're not going to prosecute me for ruining their afternoons." That's the kind of stuff I want to see the FPV industry do to the FAA, because not necessarily the FAA, but those who have lobbied for the FAA to destroy us.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Alex. Thank you so much for coming on. Really talking about a lot of good things, and also, what you're doing. You know what? Best of luck to you on, whatever research products. Hopefully, you're making money off of those, and hopefully, 2020, you'll be back making new products for us.
I'm still making products. 2019, I'm still making products, and I intend to make them as long as the FPV industry wants them. I will continue to make them. But unfortunately, as far as developing brand new innovative tech, unless the industry changes, I cannot afford to do that anymore. That has nothing to do with the FPV pilot. That has nothing to do with the consumer. That falls at the feet of the Federal Aviation Administration. They're the ones that screwed that up. The industry was going great till they stepped in. So, yeah, they're to blame. Not the consumer. You guys are not to blame. I understand. It's the FAA. So, I'll continue to refine my products. I may not tell you I've made an improvement, but I'm continually improving. So, that doesn't cost me a whole lot other than my time, which I'm very happy to spend. So, but if you have a question, it's a quick answer. PM me on Facebook or email me. And if it's a business inquiry, something that I've got to follow up with, please, for God's sakes, email me. Otherwise, I will forget. But really, there's one thing I would request from everybody who I interact with, or even if I don't. If I've made your life better, if I made your FPV experience better, if I've given you a different outlook on life, whatever it might be, please shoot me a note and let me know that I made an impact. Because that's my goal in life. My goal in life is to influence the world as positively as possible. So if I've done that, please let me know, because that will encourage me to continue doing that. Because even the most driven person without encouragement will eventually give up.
Yep. Absolutely. And
I will say thank you, my friend, for helping me with my small projects when I need help. I message you and you respond, and it's always good information to ponder. And I appreciate all that you do for our industry. And I wish things would work out more financially positive for you in the future. But as you know, we do this because we love the industry.
Right.
And when we love the industry, we sacrifice a lot of things. And mostly in this industry, we sacrifice money. It's not really the time. It's the money that hurts.
Oh, we sacrifice our pride and we teach certain people to make their airplanes faster.
And I will.
You know what I'm talking about, Hawaiian man.
I'm not trying to get into this. I'm not trying to get into this.
Slow. I told you how to make it fast, and you beat me, you son of a gun.
Well, you told everybody was like, man, you listen to him? Yes, I did. I listened to him.
And you beat me. You beat me. You placed higher than me at Drone World. You absolutely did.
More honest. I'm more honest than you guys think he is. That's what I kept telling him. Didn't I tell him why?
That's right.
That guy's more honest than you guys think. And they're like, no, he's not. He's a competitor. I'm like, he's the kind of competitor I like to compete against. He's honest to the fault.
You beat the stick skill. If I'd have let you keep that wired up, I don't know what you did to that plane to make it that slow, but for goodness sake, if I'd have let you keep it that way and told you after the race, I'd have beat you.
Oh, yeah. I was struggling because I was pissed off, right? I was like, this thing ain't as fast as you said it is. And you's like, oh, that's because you didn't do this. And I didn't.
And then you beat me.
And we went back and I was like, they were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm ironing this right here. I'm taking this laminate, four layers of laminate, and I'm gonna make me a thick sheet of laminate and put it as a cover on my wing.
You're gonna take all that drag off the battery that was exposed, all those electronics, and cover it up, and all of a sudden that plane went from 80 miles an hour to 120.
I was like, oh, look, I got him. Look.
Yep. Look, guys, it's all good fun. I couldn't beat Elvin on stick skills. That's all there was to it.
That's hard for some people. I mean, I got to say, there's a lot of talented pilots out there, and one of these days, I'd like to go up against a lot more. One of these days, I hope that day is soon in the future, because I'm just getting older, and my thumbs are gonna get slower moving to the corners, so I can't yank and bank. It's gonna have to be slide and glide.
Well, that's what the WRA is about, right? WRA is there to represent pilots. I compete because I love racing, but if I win, I got really lucky because there are a good number of pilots that are better than me, but I like competing against them. But my heart isn't set on winning. My heart is set on making sure they earn that win.
That's it right there. That's exactly.
And Elvin, you earned it. You earned it. So I'll give it to you. You earned that win.
Thank you.
There you go. And I will thank Alex Greaves for, all of his time coming onto the podcast, sharing his knowledge and being very open with all things FPV and his general life, because he is an amusing guy to talk to. If you ever actually go to an event, be sure to talk to him. He's great to hang around. He's always a bunch of laughs, and he's always around good people. That's what I've always noticed. He's always
you might be the brunt of a prank. You're gonna laugh, but you may end up the brunt of it. So just be ready to laugh if you're the brunt of it, because I've been the type of guy who if I can pull a prank and make everybody laugh, including the person the prank is on, I did well. And I do that a lot.
That's a great prank.
That's a perfect. My operations manager we were at the North American FPV event in Canada, and I had a pedal assist bicycle which I used to get around, and I didn't tell him that it was electrically assisted, and I turned on mode called turbo. And he asked me if I did this after people were like enthralled in my bike, but I was like, shh, don't tell Mark. And then he's like, okay, I need to get across the field. Can I borrow your bike? I'm like, yeah, no problem. And I was like, hello. And he turned on turbo, and he gets on it and immediately wrecks into a picnic table and ends up like chest down going, what the hell just happened? And everybody's laughing because the bike's just like, what? Boo! And took off. And he couldn't get up, not because it was windy, because he hit the table because he's laughing too damn hard. So yeah, but that's the FPV community, right? We just like goof off with each other. If we could, and when we had the golf cart at the IO that were governed to 8 miles an hour, what's the first thing I did?
Take it off.
Pulled the governor out of it. And then, of course, we had to return. I had to go hook it all back up. He's like, Alex, hey, we got to turn this back in. I got to turn this back in an hour. Put the governor back in.
They did some crazy things.
Oh, yeah. We always have a good time, man. It's just it's kind of the community. We screw off together. We have fun together. We laugh with each other, even when we probably should be laughing at each other.
Hey, laughing at each other ain't that bad, man.
No, especially with the guy being laughed at's laughing too.
Right.
As long as it's that.
We all have a good time when we get together, and that's one of the important things about this hobby is we do spend a lot of time associating and socializing with each other as pilots and builders of all different types of things. I can say that we spread out really really well.
And it's a unique industry. I mean, it's a unique group of people. Even though the FAA has kicked half of them out of it,
right,
and probably more than half. I got to say, it's probably the most unique and interesting bunch of people I've ever dealt with in my life. Mm-hmm. And I feel honored to be associated with these people.
Yeah. All right, we're wrapping it up. 2 hours. Right. We're done. Alex, it's always fun.